Hello and welcome to a new video. Today we're going to take a look at all new DLC Pokemon from the new DLC which just got released today, I think, for Pokemon Go now. So, they're going to be 10 new Pokemon, kinda 10, like it's more like 8 to be fair, but we're going to take a look at this one as well. Definitely all things coming up going to be spoilers for the people that are not looking at trailers, that want to play the game on their own. So, if you are not interested in spoilers, then feel free to just not watch this video anymore, but we are just gonna start right into it. Of course, if you enjoy this one, this was a lot of work, feel free to subscribe. Would appreciate it. We're really close to 70k, so please do that, but let's move on to the first one. First off, I have to say, I had to calculate all stats on my own, so I didn't have like any kind of website or whatever that backed me up, so the calculation for those stats is a little bit more tricky sometimes, and there could be some rounding issues, which is then maybe like, I think usually I have maybe +1 in like a stat or something, which rarely happens. I checked with other Pokemon where we know the stats, and like usually it is correct. There was like some issues where I don't really know how, maybe they were wrong or like I was wrong, who knows. But generally those stats should be correct, but there might be like one difference in a stat which doesn't really make too much of a difference in general for the Pokemon, just to be clear there. Also, here we're going to take a look at the Archadulon, which is going to be an evolution to Duraludon, which we don't have in the game yet either, which is, I think, a Generation 8 Pokemon. Steel and Dragon type, going to be an interesting one for the moves here, both fast moves as well as charge moves. I just went for basically the moves that looked the most interesting, in my opinion, for the Pokemon. There could be even better ones. For example, I always try to have like double stab for all the Pokemon that have 2 typings, and here, for example, I have Steel and Dragon, so decided to go for Iron Head, Breaking Swipe, as well as Dragon Tail, of course. Breaking Swipe now going to be a little bit weaker, but this does not make the Pokemon a little bit weaker, because it's still going to be one of the best typings, at least for the game, and especially for the Master League. I'm mainly going to take a look at the Master League here, also because it shows you the CP and the better stats for like the people that are more interested in the raids. But here we're going to see an average rating of 556 would make this top tier meta. Like, wouldn't actually make it completely broken either, but definitely would make it very, very strong, as you can see here. Very interesting Pokemon, but again, you need like Dragon Tail, Breaking Swipe, and Iron Head. I think it would also learn something like Dragon Claw, which would be like Breaking Swipe a little bit worse if you want to balance it a little bit more. But this Pokemon has some potential, decent attack stat, decent defense, decent HP, very cool Pokemon overall, and definitely looking forward to it. Let's move on to the next one. We're going to have one of the coolest one, Hydrapple, going to be a Hydra and an apple at the same time, which is kind of wild. There's like a move where it has like several heads on it or whatever. It's mad. If you want to see the spoilers, of course, for it, you can see them online. But we gave it again like Breaking Swipe. There are a lot of Dragon type Pokemon coming up that all learn Breaking Swipe, so you're going to see this move quite often, but it's one of the best moves still in the game. So here we're going to see an attack stat of 216, a defense stat of 186, and an HP stat of 235. Making this Pokemon an okay Pokemon for the Master League, maybe cool for the Ultra League. Doubt it though, but double weakness to ice can be a little bit tricky, but still, Breaking Swipe plus Power Whip gives you really good coverage, and as you can see here, it still actually has some play in the Master League, which is kind of funny. Average over 500 is always kind of nice to have, and as you can see here, you have some very interesting matchups. You're going to be able to win against something like a Giratina, against something like a Groudon, because of the grass type, which is going to make the ground typing like resisted, plus also Fire Punch is going to be also just neutral against you. So it's going to be an interesting Pokemon. It would have a lot of play, I would say. Definitely an interesting one for sure. And honestly, the design looks kind of funny, and I like this Pokemon quite a bit. Honestly, it's just like, I like those derpy Pokemon that are actually kind of cool. I don't know, like they're kind of fun. Next one, going to be here Gouging Fire. It's going to be the new form of Entei, like the Paradox form of Entei. We're going to see here 225 attack, 228 defense, 233 HP. So very balanced. Like, it has decent attack, decent defense, decent stamina. Nothing like that's insanely crazy, but definitely a very solid pool in general here. But as you're going to see, we're going to have the fast move of Incinerate. We're going to have the charge move of Breaking Swipe again, and Flame Charge, which would be most likely the ideal moveset for this type of Pokemon, because Flame Charge going to allow you to get more damage from the already buffed Incinerate this season, plus Breaking Swipe giving you a very fast move to get to, plus giving you the option to debuff the opponent, is always kind of nice. And as you can see here, average rating of 565 would most likely make this Pokemon top tier meta. Like, literally would not be surprised if this Pokemon would be like everywhere with this kind of moveset. It's still, I think, it would be kind of balanced, because the typing itself is not the greatest. You see it from like Reshiram. You don't really see Reshiram too often. But here, of course, Incinerate would be really cool. Also, like you could learn something like Dragon Breath, which might be even a little bit better for it. But I kind of would like to have some difference towards the Reshiram, and Reshiram only has like Fire Fang, so here Incinerate would make this Pokemon kind of interesting. And honestly, I love the design of this Pokemon. It looks really, really cool. If you ever played Pokemon Mystery Dungeon 1 or whatever, and you know like the crest around those 3 Pokemon and Ho-Oh, definitely kind of reminds me of that. But great design, great Pokemon, and definitely worth it. This next Pokemon is kind of sad because, yeah, you see it here on the left side already, 9% nerf. The thing is, I looked at the Pokemon as well and put like the stats in and whatever. And basically for Pokemon Go, there's a rule as far as I know. If a Pokemon gets above 4000 CP at level 40, you get a 9% nerf onto it, as far as I know. Maybe I'm completely wrong with it, but I think that's how it works. And so I did here as well for this Pokemon. And yeah, what can I say? It was like directly at 4025, it would be like 4500 or something like this at like level 50, which would have been still not even that crazy overpowered, but that's sadly how the game I think works. And so this Pokemon is still very okay-ish here. We're going to have Dragon Breath, Wild Charge, and Breaking Type again. Still something that you can play. But, yeah, again, not sure if, like, the nerf actually going to affect it. If it wasn't nerfed, it would be ending up around, like, 4500 CP, which would be okay. But, like this, it's going to be still an okay Pokemon. Not going to be the craziest one, Raging Bolt here, but definitely an interesting one, I would say. Moving on. Number 5, we're going to have here the Iron Boulder. And this Pokemon looks honestly kind of cool. I'm not too happy about the futuristic Pokemon anyway. Like, they look always kind of a little bit worse than the other ones. But this Paradox Pokemon, of course, from Terrakion, is looking kind of interesting, and the typing is also kind of interesting. Being Rock and Psychic type is kind of funny. And as you can see here, yeah, this Pokemon is going to have an interesting moveset. He actually went for Sacred Sword because, yeah, you know already that we have the other form, like with Terrakion as well, which would have Sacred Sword as a normal variant. He also would learn it. I have Psycho Cut as a fast move, which does make sense, would also learn Counter, but it wouldn't be Stab anymore. And also Media Beam, which I would like to see. Like, Psycho Cut, Media Beam sounds like a lot of fun with all the booms. Decent typing, decent stats as well, like the stats are totally okay. Looks like a solid Pokemon to use as well, kind of balanced. Definitely an interesting Pokemon. They're having the Rock and Psychic type, like the Lunatone or Solrock is kind of funny. But yeah, definitely an interesting Pokemon. Would also learn Psyshock, which was an alternative for me for Sacred Sword, but Sacred Sword, if it would learn this, would be way better, because giving you coverage against Steel-type Pokemon is very decent as a Rock and Psychic-type Pokemon, as you're going to otherwise get hardwalled by them. Looks really solid on paper as well. Definitely a Pokemon I would look forward to. Iron Crown, maybe I could have done the same here as well, but I decided to just go for the double stab moveset here with the Psycho Cut, Psyshock, as well as Iron Head. I think it's also learned Sacred Sword, which most likely would make this Pokemon a little bit better. Psychic and Steel, sadly a typing that we see already quite often in the Master League, having Solgaleo already, as well as the Metagross, makes this Pokemon maybe not as exciting, but 243 attack, 220 defense, and 207 HP is definitely a solid ranking there as well. 4,161 overall rating is also not that bad, but it's also not that great. Like, again, you would need a better typing or like a better charge moveset there. All the Pokemon I think that are showcased so far as well have like some kind of a signature move, which might be interesting for them to make the Pokemon even a little bit better. And this will be definitely some of the Pokemon, like one of the Pokemon that would really appreciate, I think, the signature move that it would learn. So I think it's a Steel-type signature move, so that would be really cool for it as well. But right now, not really ideal with Iron Head. Iron Head is just a little bit garbage, to be fair. Psyshock is also just a mid-move. So if it just gets a little bit of better charge moves, this Pokemon actually has some potential. Moving on. Next one, going to basically take up most of the rest of the Pokemon, which is going to be Terapagos. This Pokemon has currently an attack stat of 126 in Pokemon Go, 165 defense, and 207 HP, which is going to give you a maximum CP at level 50 to 1990, which is very low, especially for like something like the legendary Pokemon, I think, here. But as you're going to see here, great stats for the Great League. Honestly, 2,305 overall rating is very bulky, very cool Pokemon there. Issue is, it just does not learn a single good fast move for Pokemon Go. Best, like the only two that it learns is Takedown as well as Zen Headbutt. It would learn something like Rapid Spin, which I would like to see as a fast move in the game anyway. I feel like it does make a lot of sense, and would maybe make something like Fortress really good. And if it would learn this, and like if Pokemon Go would put this in there, I think this would be a very solid option as well. But of course, I can just only go for what is currently possible for this Pokemon. Takedown is just going to be garbage for it. And again, that's not going to do too much. But if it would get something like Rapid Spin, which would be then, I don't know, like something like a Volt Switch clone is a normal type move, would be really cool. But let's move on to the next one. There's going to be 3 forms in total of this. The first one we already saw here is the second form, which is the Terrestrial form. Looks really cool, honestly, like most likely my favorite design for this Pokemon. But you're going to see an increase, definitely, especially in the attack stat here, going up to 212, defense stat of 224, as well as the HP stat of 216 is going to be very cool, but sadly, again, it does not learn any other new move. It actually has a signature move as well, which would be interesting if it would come into the game, but with this in the Master League this time around, it's not going to be too great, but maybe in the future, if you're gonna get a better fast move, it would be also cool. But let's move on to the next one, which is going to, yeah, you see as well, it's going to be kind of garbage, which is going to be the Stellar form of it. And you're going to see here, compared to the one before, which you can go back again real quick, you're going to have here 224 defense, and you have here 204 defense. The defense stats, and I think also the speed stat, which goes into both attack as well as defense, we didn't know, are actually the exact same. Issue is here again, this Pokemon gets at level 40 over 4000 CP, and so we're going to have a 9% nerf again here onto the stats, and so we're going to see that the defense dropped a little bit, the HP actually went up and the attack also went up, especially the HP went up, I think. So there's going to be a very, very bulky Pokemon with CP of 4655, which would be really great for the Master League, like literally has like bulk level of Lugia but more CP, which is kind of cool. So yeah, would be a little bit more attack rated as well, I think then, but it is definitely a very interesting Pokemon and would be really cool if it just gets a better fast move. With those stats, it's still actually going to be able to get 8 wins, which I find kind of interesting with Takedown as a fast move. You know how bad Takedown is. But yeah, definitely a Pokemon that has a lot of potential. But let's move on to the final one for today, which is going to be the mythical Pokemon of this generation, apparently. Back in the day, there were way more mythical Pokemon, so hopefully they're going to add some as well afterwards. Here we're going to see the mythical Pokemon that's currently at least available in the code, which is going to be Pecharunt, which is going to be a very defensive ghost type, which I find an interesting concept. Having 181 attack, 273 defense, and 204 HP is really cool as a ghost and poison type, basically a Gengar, but a very defensive Gengar. Might be interesting for the Ultra League, but with the current moveset, at least that can learn, it might not be as ideal. It has a signature move again, which is part poison type, which might be interesting if it would be like something like 40 energy and very hard hitting or something like this. But at the current time, for here the Master League, it's not going to be really that great. And as you can see here, it does not really gain too many wins other than Xerneas, which the typing completely hardwalled, so that's most likely why. But this is going to be it for this video. I hope you enjoyed this one. Kind of a look at the new Pokemon from this DLC. I might actually link in the end card now the video that I did already for the last DLC, where like all the new Pokemon came in, which I already made as well a video about for this one. So definitely, if you're interested in this, definitely take a look at this one, and I see you then. Bye bye.